If you ever feel like success is always out of your grasp, this story might give you a new perspective. It's a simple tale about two friends in a day at the beach, but the lesson it holds could change how you see your own journey. Once, in a quiet little town by the coast, there lived two friends. They spent most of their days dreaming of ways to improve their lives. One morning, they decided to visit the beach to collect conch shells. The plan was simple: gather as many shells as possible, sell them at the market, and earn some money. They packed a small bag with water and snacks, put on their hats, and set off under the warm morning sun. As they walked along the shore, the first friend spotted a large, beautiful conch shell half buried in the sand. It was smooth, shiny, and unlike any shell he'd seen before. He picked it up, admiring its size and color. The other friend watched, his eyes widening with envy. "That's huge," he thought. "If he sells that, he'll make so much money. I need to find one even bigger." Without a word, he turned away and began rushing down the beach, his eyes scanning the sand frantically. The jealous friend was determined. Every time he spotted a small shell, he kicked it aside. "Useless," he muttered. "Why waste time on these? I need the biggest one. That's the only way to make real money." He ran back and forth, his shadow growing shorter as the sun climbed higher. Hours passed. Sweat dripped down his face, and his legs ached, but he refused to slow down. The idea of finding a giant shell consumed him. Meanwhile, the first friend continued his search at a steady pace. After finding the large shell, he smiled, but didn't stop. Whenever he noticed a smaller shell, he bent down, picked it up, and dropped it into his bag. Even the tiny ones have value, he thought. If I collect enough, they'll add up. By noon, his bag was half full of shells of all sizes. As the day wore on, the sun began to sink, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The jealous friend was now exhausted. His hands were empty, and his hope was fading. The beach, once bright and inviting, turned shadowy as the waves crashed louder in the growing darkness. He had searched every corner, but found nothing. To make matters worse, he realized he'd thrown away dozens of small shells earlier. He sat down on the sand, head in his hands, feeling defeated. The first friend, however, was ready to head home. His bag held the large shell and a pile of smaller ones. As they walked back to town, the second friend dragged his feet, silent and brooding. When they reached the market, the first friend laid out his shells on a cloth. A buyer immediately noticed the large conch and offered 20 for it. Then, another person approached, interested in the smaller shells. "I'll take all of these for 60, they said. In total, the first friend earned 80. The second friend stood nearby, watching. His heart sank. He had nothing to sell, no big shell, no small ones. Regret washed over him. "If only I'd kept the small shells," he said quietly. "They could have earned me something too." The first friend nodded. "Those small shells you tossed aside, I picked them up. They're why I made more money." The words stung. The jealous friend realized his mistake too late. This story mirrors a truth many of us face. We chase grand dreams, convinced that only big achievements matter. We ignore the small steps, the tiny wins, because they seem unimportant. But life is rarely transformed by a single moment. Think of the second friend. He wasted his day chasing one big prize, dismissing everything else. In the end, he had nothing. The first friend succeeded because he understood that small efforts, when combined, create something significant. Imagine a farmer planting seeds. If he only cared about the giant pumpkin in the corner of his field, he might neglect the rows of smaller crops. But it's those rows of vegetables, each one modest on its own, that feed his family and earn him a steady income. The giant pumpkin might win a prize at the fair, but it's the everyday harvest that sustains him. Or consider someone saving money. Setting aside $1 a day feels pointless, but over a year, it becomes 365. Over 10 years, it grows into thousands. Small actions repeated consistently build wealth. The same applies to learning a skill, building relationships, or improving your health. Progress happens gradually, often invisibly, until one day you look back and see how far you've come. The beach in this story is like life itself. We walk its shores, searching for happiness, success, or purpose. Sometimes we find a big shell, a job promotion, a sudden opportunity, a stroke of luck. But those moments are rare. What sustains us are the small shells, the daily habits, the kind words, the tiny risks, the lessons learned from failures. The jealous friend's downfall was his impatience. He wanted instant success, so he overlooked the value of small gains. His frustration blinded him to the opportunities at his feet. The first friend, though, stayed grounded. He celebrated the big find but kept moving forward, knowing that every little step counted. This doesn't mean we shouldn't dream big. Big goals give us direction, but fixating on them can make us miss the path itself. Think of climbing a mountain. If you stare only at the peak, you might trip over rocks or miss the safe trails. But if you focus on each step, adjusting your pace, enjoying the view along the way, the journey becomes meaningful and the summit feels closer than you think. So, whatever your beach is right now, your career, your art, your personal growth, don't dismiss the small shells. That phone call you've been putting off? Make it. The 5 minutes of practice you skip? Do it. The kind gesture you think is too minor? Offer it. These choices might feel insignificant, but they're the building blocks of something greater. Success isn't a distant island you reach in one leap. It's the collection of tiny moments where you chose to keep going. It's the courage to pick up a small shell when others walk past it. It's the patience to trust that time will multiply your efforts. The next time you feel stuck, ask yourself, am I ignoring the small shells? Maybe the answer will surprise you. And when you start valuing those tiny steps, you'll find that life isn't about waiting for one big wave to carry you. It's about riding the small waves, one by one, until they bring you to shore. Thank you for taking the time to read this story. If it reminded you of the power of small steps, perhaps share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like more stories like this, consider supporting this channel. Every click, like, or subscription might seem small, but together, they help create more content that inspires and uplifts. Keep gathering those shells, you never know where they might lead.